Okay, let's get started. So welcome to the developer general session. If you're a developer, admin, architect, you are in the right session. If you are not a developer, admin, or architect, you're still in the right session because a lot of this great content is for everybody. If you're a business person, a lot of this content will be great for you to take back home to your developers. All right, quick introduction here. My name is Nick Tran. I head up developer relations for Akamai. I've been here for 3 years. I absolutely love my job. I get to work with developers. I get to work with technology. It's the best job ever. So enough about me. I just want to now say thank you all for being a part of the Akamai developer community. What an amazing community we have here. We did a developer world tour last year, and boy, a lot of you showed up. Actually, I recognize a few of you from the events. But for the rest of you, let's play a video to recap exactly what went down.
You have the ability now to integrate Akamai directly into your release pipeline and do some very cool things with that.
I think this would make things a lot quicker and easier if I could just go to a command line prompt and just do what I need to do.
If we can automate the mundane things that we have to do day to day, we can start thinking more intelligently about other things and other solutions.
We are devised of a bunch of teams that have different projects. DevOps is essentially the glue that gets all our projects together.
So now what I think we found out is instead of using different vendors for different things, we want to try to see if we can use Akamai for everything.
All right, what an awesome event. So just, again, thank you for being a part of this amazing community that we have here. Again, we did 48 developer world tours. We are actually now planning our next series of events. So if you want us to stop by your city, be amongst the next 50 or so cities we stop by, let us know. Javier and myself will be on the road to meet many of you. Well, let's also talk about some of the amazing work that you've done on our platform, and also wanted to say thank you for doing everything that you do in your jobs. What we've seen over the past year has been just an increased usage of APIs across the board, on the order of about 165% increase in APIs, utilizing Akamai's APIs. Javier Garza, who's going to come up in a second, is going to give you a more in-depth update on where we stand with APIs. The other interesting metric I want to leave you with, maybe I should move on this side, is that all of you are doing awesome work delivering APIs for your customers on the order of 83 petabytes of data, which equates to just a tremendous amount of traffic being delivered. APIs, this is just API traffic. And we've even had some customers delivering over 4 trillion hits per month, which equates to about north of 100 billion calls a day. And when I was at Salesforce, when we hit 1 billion transactions a day via the API, that was a huge milestone for us. So now let's talk about what are you doing with Akamai or the Edge today. And so let's do a quick exercise. I know you guys were shaking the phones earlier in the main keynote. So let's continue that. Not shaking the phone, but arm exercises. So how are you using the Edge today? So let's start with an easy one. All right, who's caching content at the Edge? Raise your hand. All right, Maya, do you cache content at the Edge? I know you do. Okay. Good, just making sure you're still awake. How about A/B testing at the Edge? Raise your hand. A few of you, okay. Load balancing and failover at the Edge. All right, this guy here from Pearson's doing everything so far. And then lastly, Amol, this one's for you. Who is securing web apps and APIs at the edge? Maybe about half of you. Okay. Well, it looks like we still have some work to do here on leveraging the edge. Basically our collective message is simple. You can be doing a lot more at the edge, and that's part of my job, my main job, making sure that you're successful with all the tools and products and documentation and whatnot, so that you can really unleash the power and potential of the edge. And we break it down into 3 parts here, and very simple for you. The first of which is build for the edge. As developers, we love to code, build logic. Are you doing that at the origin, or are you doing that at the edge? You need to ask yourself that question. Are you leveraging APIs and DevOps, SDKs in order to automate and speed up the deployment, delivery of your applications and solutions? All right. Deliver from the edge. Again, I saw a lot of hands. Almost everybody is caching content from the edge. And then lastly, secure at the edge. In particular, I want to call out, the vast majority of traffic today, and you'll hear that in a lot of sessions, are APIs. And what we know is, developers typically secure their web apps, and maybe they'll think about securing the APIs. But the message is very clear here: secure everything. Before I hand it off to the other presenters, I wanted to share one true life example that happened about a month ago in building Launchpad, this application that you see here to the left of me. We worked with our developers to ostensibly change the user workflow to go from page A to page C. And they told us it would take us about a week to do, given the platform and code that they had to work through. A week is a long time just to go from page A to page C. So one of our developer evangelists, Javier Garza, in a moment, will come up in a moment, figured out another way to do it. And he said, you know what, leveraging the edge, using Akamai, we can go from A to C using some redirect logic. And that could be done at the edge as opposed at the origin. And as a result, he was able to come up with a solution that got us from A to C in 5 minutes as opposed to weeks, a week. So again, the message is very simple. You all are probably very familiar with developing application solutions at origin, but there is the edge in which you can potentially do a lot more. And I'd like to now bring on Javier Garza, our developer evangelist, to talk about how specifically you can build for the edge. Javier, I'm supposed to turn off the mic, right?
All right, thank you, everybody. Can you guys hear me? Yeah? Okay, cool. Oh, thank you. All right, so my name is Javier Garza. I'm a developer evangelist at Akamai. I've been at Akamai for over 15 years, and I know a bunch of people from you since I've been here at Edge for the last, I don't know how many Edges. I've always been teaching or doing something. I love to do demos. I don't like slides, so I'm going to bring some demo on my part because I like, especially if it's something goes wrong with me, we'll see, all right? So I've been in Akamai, as I say, a long time, and one thing I'm super happy to see is the way Akamai has been transformed in the last 2 years, I would say, towards DevOps and developers. Not only on the way we develop products, that is something that you don't know. I can see people using Jenkins, many automation tools inside our company, but also on the way that you now can leverage the Akamai products, all right? And I'm going to tell you a few things of how you can leverage APIs and DevOps tools so you can do everything automatically. We have having to go to Luna and enable services with the UI and stuff, all right? Because that's the future. Whatever you can do in 15 minutes clicking, I can do it in 5 seconds with a script, all right? Okay. So I'm going to start with APIs. Let me go actually to this side so you can see. We have lots of APIs, more than, I'm guessing, 90 or 100 APIs. And we have seen, I recently ran, I grabbed the logs for a whole year from all of the API servers, and I cracked all the numbers, and we saw that actually more than double the number of API calls that you guys are using on non-production APIs. So for example, not counting the APIs that you use, for example, to purge content in 5 seconds, which everybody uses a lot of calls per day. You know, APIs that you use for automating stuff, like for example, property manager changes, fast DNS changes, and so on. It has more than double, okay? So one of the things I think has a lot of effect is the work we are doing on developer.akamai.com, putting code. We have a lot of different tools that I'm going to talk in a second, but roughly we see around 200 million hits per day of you guys automating stuff, all right? The other thing in terms of DevOps, we are rapidly adopting open source. You know, you cannot believe it. Like I joined Nick's team like about at the beginning of last year, and I think we have like a 45 GitHub repos. Nowadays we have 125 plus and counting. And actually, you know, just a week ago, you know, we discussed internally and we decided to make a new org. So anybody, you know, you for example, can make contributions in GitHub and share with other customers. And that's the Akamai contributions organization. So we'll be publishing probably a link or something. So if you want to post something and share it, you know, you have a way to do it. We created the org like last week, and we already have like a 5 or 6 repos. So it goes really quick. In terms of the CLI, how many of you use the Akamai CLI? All right, cool. The Akamai CLI is basically a binary, you know, a program that you can download. And once you have it in your machine, you can use the APIs without having to code anything on Python or Go or all the PHP language, all the languages that we have for APIs. So it's basically you can say Akamai property, and then you use the property module, and then you can, you know, update config changes, you know, do logic at the edge, and do all sorts of things. Configure DNS, you know, generate alerts, configure alerts, pull the list of alerts that are firing, and so on. So we have released a new version recently of the CLI that auto-updates. You can list all the packages that are available, so it's pretty cool. We have, I think, around 10 plus packages, and you know, it's super easy to create one. Again, we allow you to create packages, and to do a test, I create my own package. You know, I haven't programmed Python for many years, and I tried it out, and you know, it works. So it's not that complicated. If I can do it, anybody of you can do it. In terms of configurations as code, we are pushing a lot this edge for you to automate everything. For example, we just released an API that you can use with a single API call, update hundreds of configs, which is pretty cool. All right, so you can basically search and replace in many configs at one with one API call. We have many sessions here that explain how to automate stuff. In just checking the agenda, and you can see actually DevOps is everywhere. We have you know, 1/3 of all the sessions, basically 30 plus sessions here. They are for DevOps. You know, we have the first Akamai University for DevOps, you know, ever. We have the hands-on sections where you can try around our DevOps tools with Launchpad and demo stations and everything, so it's super important for us. One of my favorites is the sandbox. The sandbox is actually, how many of you have used the sandbox? Cool. So in case don't you know, you need something called an Akamai property to configure what Akamai should do when we get a request for your website, right? There are different ways of testing this. You know, we have 2 networks, staging and production. When you push to staging, now it's really quick. It's under 5 minutes. But we make the sandbox to make even quicker and make it also more powerful for developers to test stuff. The sandbox is basically a 2-component tool that we have. It's free, available for everybody. There is one component that is deployed on the Akamai server. For example, when you create a sandbox with an API command, For example, I would say Akamai sandbox create, and I give some parameters. I provision a virtual sandbox in an Akamai server in our staging network that is dedicated for you, all right? So for example, if Amol creates a sandbox in one IP, that sandbox is for him, and he can try configuration for akamai.com. I can create another sandbox in the same server, and also for akamai.com, and our configurations will not interfere with each other. So it's like a virtual environment inside. The cool thing is you can push code to the sandbox within a few seconds. Usually, I've been doing a lot of testing, and it's around maybe 15 seconds. So it's pretty quick. And the most cool thing is the client side that you install on your laptop allows you to do like a VPN, like a tunnel. So you can tell the Akamai server to go back to your laptop for the web server instead of your production server that is running on the cloud. In that way, I can run some code I can run a web server on my laptop and test origin changes and see how they play in Akamai in a production system, all right? So let me show you how it works. So I have to say, we created this demo pretty quickly, and it may fail. Actually, I changed it in the last 15 minutes to use a different server. So we are going to see how everything goes. All right. Cool. So you can see here, this is an environment very similar to Visual Code. It's called Thea. It's an IDE that you can download for free. And on this side here, I have a file system that I can click on a file and open it in an editor, which is this part here. And, oh, sorry, let me stop PowerPoint, otherwise you don't see my screen. All right, much better now. So again, this is the editor, the file system, and here on the bottom I have my shell commands. I'm going to make it a little bit higher so you can maybe see it better. So that's my terminals. I have two terminals, so I can type commands in both of them at the same time. Let me actually make it on the top so you can see a little bit better. Can you guys see from the bottom? I'm going to try to make it a little bit bigger. Is it better? So the bigger I make it, the smaller as the space I have for the commands, okay? So maybe I do it a little bit less. All right, so like this. And here on the right side, I have like a mini web browser. So if I type something, I can see in real time how that looks like. So let me show you. So this is what I'm going to do. I have created a sandbox that I already provisioned. The command takes around 1 minute 15 seconds to 1 minute to create the sandbox. And that provisions all the hardware, install the things on your computer that needs to do, and so on. So I already installed that, running a command called Akamai sandbox install. And I have the Akamai CLI, so if I type here Akamai sandbox, you can see the CLI is already installed and it gives me all the information. All right? So let me tell you, actually I'm going to remove all the files that I have here so you can see I do from scratch. All right? So I deleted a bunch of files, so here we have a fresh start. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the configuration for the sandbox. The configuration for the sandbox gets created automatically when you create a sandbox with the API command. And this is the power that you have, all right? So the first part is like the tunnel, like the VPN, what you want to do with the sandbox. So for the moment, I have configured the sandbox to run on port 5050 on my machine. This is a Docker container on the cloud. And its host is 127.0.0.1. If you want to open this to the outside, you can just put 0.0.0.0, and that is like using the public IP that you have. All right? Then the second thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change this to true so that I can see more information on the logs. The sandbox allows you to see the traffic that goes between the Akamai servers and the origin, which is pretty cool. If you run the origin on AWS, you don't have to go to AWS to see the hits and so on. All right? At least you see from the part of the Akamai server. And here is basically the mappings that I'm doing on my configuration. So for example, in my configuration, I'm using origin.finsecdevops.com. That's my origin that I have in my rules. And what I'm doing in the sandbox, I'm telling, instead of going to that origin in the cloud, go to my local machine on port 5060. And I'm going to run a web browser right there. So if I go to, I do a curl, let me put it a little bit higher, -s, all right, so we have an index here, of course. So let's see, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start the sandbox and see if this, let me open the URL, if this comes on. So I'm going to click Akamai Sandbox Start. And you can see there is running some Java client and opening some sockets. And it's opening a connection to, like a WebSocket connection to an Akamai server, which is going to VPN the traffic back and forth between my machine and so on. All right, so if I reload the page, you can see there are requests coming to my machine, to my sandbox here. And I can see the different hits. And you can see here that I have this is basically my web server that is responding to this. And to show you that is my web server, I'm going to edit my index.html, type some code, and show it to you. So basically, I'm going, this is my index.html. Let me search for sandbox. So this is the title here. All right, so I'm going to put demo for you. So I'm going to click File Save to save the file. And I'm just basically reload this. And you can see right away I made changes on my origin and I can see them right away. And we can do many more cool things. I can push Akamai rules to generate things on the edge in real time. But I don't think we'll have time for that. But we have a special sessions that we're going to show you how to do that. So we have actually 3 sessions. One is called tomorrow at 3 p.m. That's the one I'm giving. Like I will show you how you can use Akamai open source to do things with the sandbox and with Akamai to automate everything. And with the minimum lines of code that you can. Like for example, with 3 lines of code, what you can do. We have another one for security with the sandbox, another one that explains what the sandbox is and how a customer is using it in real time. And in the Launchpad section here, you can try it for yourself. You can create a sandbox, put some rules, create some logic, and so on. So it's a lot of sandboxing today. All right, and with that, I'm going to pass it to Maya.
Thank you, Javier. That was an awesome demo. Hi, I'm Maya Bustan. I'm a senior director on the product side at Akamai. And one of the things that my team is focusing on is the DevOps initiative, making sure that it's extremely easy for you to integrate Akamai into your workflows. And we've been delivering a lot of cool stuff over the past few years. But one of the really exciting things that we're bringing to the market this Edge is EdgeWorkers. And that's what I wanted to speak with you about today. So what is EdgeWorkers? EdgeWorkers is basically the first step for Akamai moving into serverless compute. So we believe that in order for you to provide the best experience for your users, you want to push as much logic as possible to the edge. And one of the ways that you would be able to do that is with EdgeWorkers. So why would you use a serverless function? So basically, that would help you to have a faster application experience. It would be faster to production because all you need is to write a few lines of JavaScript and push it out. And it will ramp up your time. And just in general, like I think many of you just prefer to code. Like going and using the UI is something that you would love to avoid in some cases. And that's what we want to help you do. So let's speak a little bit about the use cases. So the way we're going to roll EdgeWorkers, it would be in phases. So it would be a release vehicle, and each time you'll get more and more features. Right now, we are in tech preview. And towards the end of the year, we'll be in beta. And then next year, we will have many more features coming up. So today, with the functionality that we're bringing to market, you would be able to do things like A/B testing, get more offload improvements, URL redirects, traffic filtering. You can customize your responses and do some load balancing and debug logging. But what about tomorrow or next year? What can you do then? So at that point, we will actually really add a lot of functionality that will give you a lot more flexibility in the code that you're writing. So you would be able to do things like personalize your content, do API orchestration on the edge, reducing the time that you need to go to server to fetch data. You would be able to integrate banners and ads before the browser, work with third-party scripts, do user authorization, and even have access to key-value data storage. That would open opportunities to do so much more with Akamai. So let's speak a little bit about the features that we have with EdgeWorkers so you know what to expect. So we're using V8 isolates. That means that you can safely deploy your JavaScript on the Akamai Edge server. And the way EdgeWorkers is implemented is basically we have EdgeWorkers running on all of our Edge servers, everywhere in the world. So that really means that you get the lowest latency. In addition to that, we have it working based on HTTP events. So you would be able to execute functions based on client requests or response, or based on the origin request or response. Now, from web data access, we would allow you to basically build custom logic with the ability to read, modify cookies, headers, and URL. And you can also construct responses. So you would be able to provide fast responses at the edge by constructing the body response. Now, one thing that is also extremely powerful with EdgeWorkers is that once you're setting it up in your configuration, now it means that you can allow different development teams to write their JavaScript and deploy it. And this really would help you prevent the bottleneck that sometimes you might have with Akamai. Because each team would be able to run their own EdgeWorkers and deploy it at the right time for them. Now, the last thing I wanted to do is just give you a snapshot of how EdgeWorkers look like. So this is actually the code of the EdgeWorker that we used in the IoT demo. So you saw the IoT demo on the main stage with Tom. And what we wanted to do was to put some more protection on our demo. And you saw we had some bad behaviors during the shaking. We wanted to make sure that we're also not getting any participants from different places trying to influence the contest. So we created an EdgeWorker code to make sure that only apps that are in Nevada can participate. So let's take a look. If you can see, those are the things that we were looking to check for in the EdgeWorker. So that was the region. And we can see that we were looking at Nevada right here. Also, we wanted to make sure that only people with mobile device can participate in the contest. So we were looking at the user agent and double checking on that before the people were starting to use the app. So basically, if you'll go home and you'll try to use the app, you will be denied. And one of the reasons we did it with an EdgeWorker is because we wanted to make sure we can easily change it. So if for some reason the IoT team is going to California tomorrow and wants to run the demo, they can change it in a few minutes, deploy it, and they're ready to go. And with that, I just wanted to tell you that you can learn a lot more about EdgeWorkers in 2 more sessions that we have. One session would be tomorrow here, and that would actually be David Theobald, who's the product architect for EdgeWorkers, and he would show you how you can work with EdgeWorkers and also how you can integrate it with Sandbox, which is what Javier just showed you a few minutes ago. And the second session will be also tomorrow at 3 p.m., and we'll speak about the evolution of serverless, and we'll give you even more details about EdgeWorkers. And with that, I'm going to invite Amol, who would speak with you a little bit about how you can secure at the edge.
Thank you, Maya. All right, hi, my name is Amol Mathur. I head the product management team for web security. So you heard from Javier and Maya on how you can create amazing experiences. And typically when we talk about security, one of the biggest challenges we see is that developers are creating amazing experiences at a much faster pace than security can keep up to protect them. So I want to talk about some new features and changes we have done to the products in the last couple of months and what's coming this year that will help you protect at scale and go much faster. Now, our mission is to help you protect your entire web and API estate. Now, when we typically talk to users, they have 2 sets of applications and APIs. They have their top tier applications, they are most business critical, they have dedicated ops teams, and they are typically regulated, and they are protecting them using Kona rule set, which is a part of Kona Site Defender, and it gives them a lot of control and agility. But below the surface, they have a much larger long tail of apps and APIs. These could be tier 2 applications, maybe not as business critical, but they still need strong protection, but a very trained, tuned approach to managing these applications is not feasible. Now, when we talk about the management models, on the left is the model that is available today, where you have Kona rule set. It's completely customizable. You can tune the protections down and create a protection profile that is most appropriate for your applications. Every time Akamai updates the rules, you can test them before you deploy them, but it's completely under your control. But now we are introducing a new, more agile and simple model to help you protect as you are developing and putting stuff on the internet, which is essentially click to protect security. It's a common set of protections. It's a one-size-fits-all approach, and these protections are automated and they are managed by Akamai. So for the folks who have been in the Luna portal, who have seen the security configurations, the option that you are familiar with typically is Kona rule set. You have all the rules, you can tune the rules, you can apply conditions, exceptions, and you can create a protection profile. The other option that has been made available is automated attack groups. Now, automated attack groups offers a very strong set of protections against 8 different attack categories. It has automatic API inspection. So if you have a property or if you have traffic protected by automated attack groups and it has JSON or XML APIs, then we automatically parse and apply security to ensure that there is no content injection or other kinds of attacks going against your APIs. We offer zero-day protection, so we have a web platform group. If zero-day struts, Drupal, other kinds of CMS vulnerabilities, platform vulnerabilities come out, we are able to patch them within 12 to 14 hours and provide a virtual patch for you. This rule set is completely auto-upgraded and auto-tuned, which means that Akamai is managing, updating, and tuning behind the scenes without you as end users having to do anything for the rule set. So once you protect your asset behind this rule set, it's basically protected. You can just, it's a complete hands-off approach. It provides extremely quick onboarding to protect your host and has extremely low or no maintenance. And it's available to all KSD users today. Yes. Now, the protection engine that is part of automated attack groups, it stitches together a few different things to create a very low false positive profile, and that's why you don't have to do the ongoing maintenance or tuning, but it also creates a very strong profile by stitching together Smart Detect, which is our lib injection based detection technology. It is not based on simple regex rules. We take extremely high fidelity web attacker reputation heuristics. Our anomaly scoring is intelligent to reduce false positives. We have intelligent exceptions built in, and we have a penalty box where we are able to disrupt the attack kill chain by looking at what attackers typically do before they launch the attack. And if we see that kind of reconnaissance activity, then we are able to put that attacker in a penalty box so they cannot do anything to your platform for a period of time. Now, a lot of people ask, how does this auto-upgrade, auto-tune work? So there are two critical capabilities that allow us to put extremely high fidelity, low false positive detection logic into automated attack groups. Number one is security upcoming rules. Every detection logic that we are putting in this engine, we can test against live Akamai traffic. Now we see a ton of traffic on our platform. We can choose a percentage of traffic. We can say we only want to test this against specific industry verticals, specific technology stacks, and only after extensive validation and tuning of the detection logic, it makes it to automated attack groups. So as end users, you can be rest assured that this is not going to create disruptions for your applications. And then the next part is the threat ops monitoring team, where you see one of the dashboards that they have. On a 24/7 basis, they are monitoring any kind of constant changes or spikes that we are seeing across our customer base. And that could result in us either detecting new vulnerabilities and quickly putting that in the detection logic, or tuning our rule set to further reduce false positives. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Kona rule set. Now, one of the challenges is, the threat landscape is changing, and if you're using Kona rule set, which gives you the ability to have complete control on when you accept the updates Akamai is sending, but on the other side, because the threat landscape is evolving, we are constantly updating the detection logic. So how do you keep up with all these changes so that you can upgrade your protections without having to do a lot of manual effort? So we are launching a feature in beta in October called KRS evaluation mode. What this essentially does is it lets you evaluate the changes of a new rule set versions that we are publishing without the need of changing any of your current protections or degrading your security posture. So in the security configuration, you'll get an alert saying, all right, there are 2 new versions of Kona rule set. You can click and you can see all the details of what has changed. So you can see these are the rules, they were updated. You can expand them and read about what the change is. And this essentially shows you what your current status of these rules are in your current configuration. Now, you can say, all right, I want to evaluate these changes against my current traffic without impacting my current traffic. So you can essentially run a simulation of these rules against your live traffic. So you go into Kona rule set evaluation, it opens up a simulation panel, and now you can say, all right, all these rules that have changed, I want to simulate them and see what would be the impact of these changes on my production traffic. You can even expand and change the exceptions, the conditions, and run a type of simulation that makes most sense for you. Now, once you run the simulation, by default, it will run for up to 4 weeks. You can stop it at any time. In the middle of the evaluation, you can view the results. This is what, you have all the reports here. you can open one specific report, and what the report essentially shows you is what were the triggers in the left part of the Venn diagram from the current protection profile, what were the triggers in the new protection profile, and what were common. So if you want to gain confidence in, okay, what is the impact if I adopt this new detection logic, you need to see, all right, what are the new triggers? And then you need to evaluate and see, are these any false positives? Do I need to tune anything? If it all looks good, I can confidently upgrade. Now, while you are running this evaluation, your current protections stay where they are. If they are in deny, they stay in deny. Your current production traffic does not get impacted. You can come down, you can look into specific details of what the triggers are. When you click on the individual links, it will take you to Web Security Analytics, where you can see the individual detail logs. You can slice and dice the data and say, okay, these evaluation triggers, why did they trigger? What were the specific parts of the request that made them trigger this? So then you can take corrective action if you need to. So this feature goes into beta in October. This will really help you stay up to date with your protections in a much faster and easier manner as Akamai is publishing these changes. And once you are satisfied with the evaluation, once the report makes sense to you, you have made the modifications you needed, then you can confidently go press upgrade, and it'll upgrade your rule set for you automatically. So those were the two sort of features that will hopefully help you protect at the edge much faster than you've been able to do before. And with that, I'll hand it back to Nick. Thank you. So yeah, before I hand off this, I'm doing a more deep dive into both these features tomorrow at 12 p.m. just diagonally across in this room, and we'll go through actual demo in Luna for the KRS eval. So if you're available, please stop by. Thank you.
Mic check. Can you hear me? Yep. It's like Christmas for developers, right? So just to recap, Javier Garza talked about build for the edge, and he covered API, he covered APIs, DevOps, Sandbox. I saw Akil over there. He's the product manager for for Sandbox. It is now GA, right, Akil? It is now GA, so really, really great to see. You can also check it out at the hands-on lab here. Maya Bustan talked about EdgeWorkers. It is now in tech preview. You can also get hands-on with EdgeWorkers here in the hands-on lab. And Amol, thank you Amol for walking us through automated attack groups and KRS eval mode. That will be available later in the fall as beta. So lots of great stuff for developers. But with all that, how do you go and learn about all this great stuff? Well, I have a video for you to check out. Wait. So what we are introducing to you, we haven't done a proper introduction of this yet, is Akamai Launchpad. The team has been working hard on this for the last couple months. So basically what it is our next generation learning platform. It's completely self-guided, self-paced, free for anybody, customers, prospects. It contains a whole bunch of missions for you to check out right now. I think about 10 with a few mini hacks along with that. Our intent is to continue to build it out and create more content for you. Let us know, give us feedback on what other content you want to see. We have a list this long already, but your feedback will help us prioritize what we work on. And of course, we made it a lot of fun. It's completely gamified. You get badges for completing content. You get points to level up. Launchpad, Launchpad, Launchpad. If you haven't signed up, please do so. This week is an exclusive tech preview for Edge World attendees only. It's not yet widely available. So this is your only opportunity to check it out right now before we make it available to others. One other thing, yeah, so as you complete mission quests, what you'll get rewarded with are a bunch of really nice swag. I think as you sign up, you'll get your t-shirt. And as you complete the missions, you'll get to be able to collect all this fun stuff. So again, Launchpad, it's our next generation learning experience. We are making learning fun again. And with that, who's ready to blast off? Thank you.